All right, man. We live, man. Let me go into this thing where I'm able to see the views and click and share some um share to a few groups. Hold on one second. I'm gonna play some music, man, while I share this real quick, man, before we go.
This is a hijack situation!
Wells Fargo has just gotten better with.
Wow.
All I see around me, black faces and brown jeans in the track places for the heartbeat. My crowd lace in my army. All I see around me, that's around me. It's my black face, holding that crown. Tell me what to try me, so I'm letting my color straight shine. Reppin' for my brothers that's like a side grind. Mine is a perfect, no one can take mine. Going to the left, the step between lines. All of this time, all of this hate, all of the shit that they put in our plate. Look at my flag, sucking in face, red, black, green's the color of my state. So watch how I kill 'em with the black flow. All of us winning can't act slow. Hands on my top till I pass go. Till I tell these shots can't fast forward. So I'm pull my flag high. Spend the money back for my last time. Still ain't gonna be shot to the last line. Don't be all around for this black shine. That's why. All I see around, all around, all around, all around. All these cheap check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all around, all around. All these cheap check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all around, all around. All these cheap check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all around, all around. All these cheap check my fantasy. Standing with my head held high, better in the sky. Rapping for my ancestors. Please go on to ask me why. Huey in my house, you can see the pain on the sky. Black everywhere that I go. No kids, no biz, no will I ever say blow. Jury in control, city gonna blow, cause they treat me with the flow, trying to get me on my dough. Why? How I line this up? It's up, black how we the finest what? What? The black is in the air, you can tell when they say that we have a final rush. No time for trust, no time for games. On the street, we revive the flames. As you look into my face, you can tell by the days on mine have time to change. I let them know what it is, bring this up. It's cheddar cheese. Watch these crackers, they gon' give it up. Monsters gonna be in the air, watch us live it up. Give shots with a bang, if the time don't change, watch how I give it up. All I see around, all around, all around, all around. All these cheap check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all around, all around. All these all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy.
We are men, human beings.
All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around me, black faces and brown jeans in the track places for the heartbeat. My brown lace in my army. All I see around me, that's around me. It's my black face, holding that crown. Tell me what to try me. I'm letting my color shade shine. Repping for my brothers to take a side to crime. Mine is a puppet, and no one can take mine. Going on to the left, the step between lines. All of this grind, all of this hate, all of the shit that they put in our plate. Look at my flag, shining in face, red, black, green's the color of my state. Watch how I kill 'em with the black flow. Told 'em with 20 can't act slow. Hands on my crop till I pass go. So the 30 shots can't fast forward. So I pull my flag high. Spend the money back to my last time. Send it with me shot to the last line. Don't be all around for this black shine. That's why all I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. Standing with my hand held high, banner in the sky, rapping for my ancestors alive. Please don't ever ask me why. Huey in my house, you can see the pain on the sky. Black everywhere that I go. No kids, no fears, no will I ever say flow. Till we get control. City gonna blow, cause they treat me with the flow, trying to get you on my dough. Why? How I line this up? It's up like how we the blindest what? The black is in the air, you can tell when they say that we have a blind rush. No time for trust, no time for games. Up and we revive the flames. As you look into my face, you can tell by the days when mine have time to change. I let them know what it is, bring this up. This check the cheap, but these trackers, they gon' give it up. Most all be in the air, watch us live it up. Give shots with a bang, if the time don't change, watch how I give it up. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy. All I see around, all around, all these sheets check my fantasy.
We are men, human beings, capable of the same acts as any other race, possessing under fair circumstances the same intelligence as any other race. Now Africa's been sleeping, not dead, only sleeping. Today Africa's walking around not only on her feet, but on her brains. You can enslave what was done for 300 years the bodies of men. You can tackle the hands of men. You can tackle the feet of men. You can imprison the bodies of men, but you cannot tackle or imprison the minds of men.
All right. I'm through sharing what I'm gonna share to the group of peace of Senate Lisa. Oh, hold that. Sorry about that. Oh, man. All right. Hotel Senate Lisa, Hotel Jadar Spirit, Hotel Senate Monica. Uh, well, I was gonna ask y'all to share, but I done shared them in most of the groups now. I'm in most of the group. Appreciate y'all joining in, man. Rock out with me and brother Cuban Crisis for about an hour, hour and a half. We're gonna have a discussion. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. Let me share my screen.
Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme creature of creation. When man becomes possessor of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. This faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man. I'm raising my team, red, black, and green, queens and kings, salute, now scream, I should, bring from I should, I'm ripping my team, red, black, and green, queens and kings, salute, now scream, I should, bring from I should, I should.
All right, family. Today, I got a guest back on the show today, brother Cuban Crisis. The discussion that we're gonna be having today is why does division exist with the initiated that profess these traditions? Discussion by Kofi Paisai and Cuban Crisis. I always have to give a disclaimer before I give a disclaimer because I'm just gonna be sharing a little information, a couple of slides, and then I'm gonna let my brother introduce himself, and then let him go in before I start the slides. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Before I do that and do the disclaimer, I always try to do a Hotel Dino suit, honoring one of the Agunguns or one of the Akus, uh, our ancestors, or one of our ancestors that has transitioned, Garrett A. Morgan. For those that may not know who Gary A. Morgan is, he is an American inventor, best known for creating the device today, the gas mask and the traffic lights. This is the individual that created the gas mask and the traffic light, Gary A. Morgan, um, who is an ancestor now. Um, uh, so here's the Hotel Dina suit at the top. This is the session at the top. This is the transliteration and the translation at the bottom. It says Hotel di Nasut Wasir Neb Jadu Necha A Neb Adu DF per correct Hek Ket Ka Apet Sesh Menket Nebet Neferet Webet Necha M Nka in Maku Makaru. An offering in which the king gives Wasir, Lord of Jadu, the great deity, Lord of Obitus, that he may give a voice offering of calf, fire, linen, alabaster, and all good and pure things in which a deity lives. To the revered ones, the ancestors, or Garrett A. Morgan, justified or true of voice. All right. Like I said, today I have a special guest. He's back on the show. Uh, Brother Cuban Crisis. Introduce yourself for those that may not know who you are.
Alafia, Black Power Palante, brother. My name is Brother Malik. Um, my Facebook alias is Cuban Crisis. Um, I just to keep it in regards to the topic on this show. I am an initiate in the traditions of Orisha. Um, prior to Being initiated in the traditions, religious wise, I was a Muslim most of my life. Um, I had started studying Islam at 12, and I took my Shahada at 17. And I was what they called a Salafi, was the type of Muslim I was. So I was under the minhaj of the Dawah of the Salafiyah. And I think, prior to Islam, like most of us, we were raised under Christianity. I was actually raised a Jehovah Witness. And so those different paths that I embarked on, um I had experienced Orisha at a very young age and did not know what it was that I experienced. And so while I was a Muslim, that was something that I wrestled with. Was it demonic what I saw? Um, and was it not demonic? And if it wasn't demonic, if it wasn't something of shaitan, then that debunks what Islam teaches. And so it was something I wrestled with. And so I'd say now for the past 6 years, um, I've been into the traditions, um, furthering initiations that I have to go through. I'm in the traditions of what's called Lucumí, which the generic term is Santería, and the house that I'm in is an Ifa house, meaning that my godfather is a Babalao. He has been in the traditions. Uh, well, he's been crowned, meaning he is made Ocha, or Spanish Santo, meaning that he is a priest, but as well as he's a Babalao. For 54 years. So he's old school. Um, and another tradition that I've not yet been initiated into, but I will have to, is the traditions of what's called Palo Mayombe, which is a tradition that derives from the Congo. And in the traditions of Palo Mayombe, it's like an Ifa when you deal with the Egungun, when you're just dealing with ancestors. So Palo is dealing with the muertos, the dead. In Spanish, we say the muertos, but it's the Egun. It's dealing with the ancestors. And Lucumí, Santería is dealing with Orisha. But in all actuality, um, you have to deal with the ancestors. That is the foundation. Just as the foundation of the Orishas would be that you have to deal with to get to certain points would be Eshu Eligua, because he is the Orisha of the roads. So that's just a little brief thing in regards to me and the traditions.
All right. All right. First I want to say ETM hotel dua netcha Vini Kofi Paisai Modupe Alafie Fatmu Alafie Fatmu Iwa Pele Egungun Majube Ibai Egungun Kiki Egungun. I always have to give thanks and honor to the ancestors with everything that I do, because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. Um, Again, the name of the discussion is, why does division exist uh, with the initiated that professes these traditions? So we're going to be talking about the traditions uh, um, that we were into. He talked about Lucumí, which is Santería, which I'm gonna just before we start having discussion and let my brother go into it. I'm just give some show a few slides, and these some of these slides are off of the presentation that I did. I added one new slide to it, but some of these slides are off of my Yoruba introduction to Yoruba presentation part one. And I just wanted to show some slides because I'm a visual type individual, and I know there's some people out there that may be visual too. So I just want to run down some of the traditions that we're going to talk about and some of the divisions and how the divisions got to be so forth, so y'all can kind of walk with us and understand for those that may not understand the different branches of the traditions that we may be discussing tonight. Hold on. I am working on something and tuning in. Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah. Appreciate that, any red. We ain't gonna be on about an hour and a half, man. So you can get it in, my brother. So you can get it in. I ain't got nothing to do, so I'll be tuning in to whatever you got going on. Appreciate you coming in support. Hotel Satep and Ra, I see you done bounced in here too. Before I get started though, like I always have to give a disclaimer. Just I have to give a disclaimer. My disclaimer is I am not a teacher, but merely a student sharing information. And that information provided is for the educational purpose only. And if you are in doubt, do the research or have it verified by someone qualified. I reserve the right to change the focus of this presentation to shut down, sell, or exchange the terms of use or go to paid platform at my own discretion. All trademark design rights, copyrights, residents' names, mottos, logos, avatars, the sigmas, and marks used or cited by this website are the properties of their respective owners. I reserve the right to add information as it comes available or adapt changes, improve information as it comes available in the future. Inputs wanted, changes, additions, deleted, and encouragement. So I am a brother that is stating I am not a teacher. I am merely a student sharing information, and I am always up for critique. I take critique. I'm not one of those individuals that gets in my feelings or in my emotions. If it's something that I got wrong, I don't mind going back, retracting it, and changing the information. If there's new research that has been surfaced that has not fall across my lap or my table, please share it with me, and I'll update my information. That's why um, I reserve the right to add information as it comes available and adapt changes, approve information as it comes available in the future. Inputs wanted, changes, addition, deletions, encouraged. So I am that type of brother that doesn't mind being critiqued. That's why I leave my references where you can go through and scrutinize my references and so forth. I have no problem with that because that's the only way that I'll be able to get get better and develop my skills as a researcher better. Now I'm not going live at all because I may have to avoid what I want to do because this sister saying we believe in aliens and we, uh, boy, it's so much foolishness out there, man. I'll tell you. Okay. I wanted to add another slide, but I wasn't able to add another slide. I wanted to kind of grasp y'all and walk y'all through, but some of the people that's in the chat already have looked at the introduction, the Yoruba presentation, have looked at all three, part one, part two, part three, um, to kind of give you an understanding who are the Yoruba people and what is Ifa and where did these individuals come from. I'll just give a brief thing where they said some of the people from that ended up in southwestern Nigeria that we call the Yoruba people came from East Africa into Nigeria. We have some that say that the people of the Yoruba people come uh, from the east into North Africa, which is Kemet, and resided there for a while, and then left uh, doing the Hexos invasion, doing the Greeks invasion, the Romans invasions, and the Arabs invasions. where they moved at certain times, moved into West Africa, so forth, the southwestern Nigeria, Benin, Togo, in those regions, in those areas. Um, and I wanted to add the slide, but I thought I did, but I didn't. So here, just like I said, there's gonna be a couple of slides so y'all can kind of walk with us for those that may not understand the traditions or some of the names that Brother Cuban Crisis may be throwing out, I may be throwing out later on. Y'all kind of understand what we're talking about. The Yoruba spiritual system are also incredible, widespread around the world. Some of this was due to migrations, yet the most recent migration is because the Atlantic slave trade that brought the people of Yoruba to Trinidad, to Tobago, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico, Brazil, Venezuela, North America, and elsewhere. Cuban immigrants to immigrated to New York City brought the Yoruba to the United States in 1930 and the 1940s. Today, as many as 75 million people worldwide practice some version of the tradition. Yoruba or Orisha, Nigeria, and the United States. Santeria, Cuba, synchronized with Catholicism. Yoruba, Lucumí, which is the same thing as Santeria, which Brother Cuban Crisis stated. Afro Cuba, non-synchronized. Candomblé, Brazil. Shango Baptist, Trinidad, and the Ifa priesthood, Niger, and in America. So I wanted to kind of start out with this too, because when he talks about Santeria and he talks about Kamdambala and he talks about uh, Lucami, um, Shango Baptist, and I didn't put Palo in here, but I got Palo on the side. He talks about Palo. You'll kind of understand where did these traditions come from. They are branches off of uh, the Yoruba people system, the Ifa system, and how they ended up in these certain areas such as Trinidad, Tobago, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Venezuela, and here in North America, and so forth. So I wanted to share that slide with you. Ifa. It is a religion and a system of divination and refers to the verses of the literature corpus known as the Oda Ifa. Orilima is identified as the grand priest as he who reveals divinity and prophesies to the world. Babaluals or Inifas use either the divining chains known as opele or the sacred palm nuts called Ike or Ike Ifa, and the wooden divination tray called Opan Ifa. A lot of y'all ought to be familiar with these terms and what the Opele is, what the Inke Ifa is, what the Opan Ifa is, what I don't have the Irike Ifa is, what the Abata is, and so forth. These terms should be familiar with a lot of the people in the chat that I see in the chat. If they're not, um, when you get a chance, go to introduction of Yoruba part 3. My part 3, I break it down real simple what these is, what they are used for, and you can see over here in the corner, you can see uh the Babalua out here with the Opan Ifa, which is the divination tray. He has the tapper here, which is the Irike Ifa. Here he has the white powder that is used to mark with, and I don't know what he has for as what he casting with because I can't hardly see right there. Ifa practiced throughout the Americas, West Africans, and the Canary Islands in the forms of complex religion systems or play a critical role in the traditions of Santeria, Candomblé, Palos. Listen, Ifa practices throughout the Americas, West Africa, and the Canary Islands is the form of a complex religion system and plays a critical role in the traditions of Santeria, Candomblé, Palo, Umbanda, Voodoo, and other Afro-American faiths, as well as some traditional African religions. Santeria, which is my brother, he is initiated in, or Lucami. Santeria, also known as Regla del Ocho, La Regla de Ifa, or Licame, is also an Afro-American religion and Caribbean origin that is developed in the Spanish Empire among West African descendants. Santeria is a Spanish word that means worship of saints. Santeria is influenced by the synchronized with Romans Catholicism and is a sacred language. A variety of Yoruba is a Lucumí language. Santeria is a system of belief that is merged aspects in the Yoruba religion brought to the New World by enslaved Yoruba people along with Christianity and the religion and the indigenous people of the Americas. The Yoruba people carried with them various religions, customs, including a trance of divination system for communication with their ancestors, which is a vital key to Ifa, as the communicating with the ancestors, ancestor worship, and the divination system. Uh, uh, for communication with the ancestors and the deities, animal sacrifice, sacred drums and dances, the needs to preserve their traditions and belief systems in the hostile cultures of environment prompt those enslaved in Cuba, starting from the early as 1550 to the merge their customs with the aspects of Roman Catholicism. These religious traditions involved into what is now recognized as Santeria. Not gonna go too far in that because again, if you want more information on that, I kind of talk about why they synchronize Christianity in with the Ifa tradition, how Santeria came about, so forth, how these people migrated to all these other places. If you want that information again, uh, look at Introduction to Europe, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 to understand the totality of the traditions. Candomblé, Portuguese pronunciation Candomblé dance in honor of the gods. It is an Afro-American religion tradition practiced mainly in Brazil by the Provo do Santo people of the Saints. Candomblé officially originated in Salvador, Baja at the beginning of the 19th century when the first temple was founded. Although Candomblé is a practice primarily in Brazil, it is also practiced in other Latin American countries, including Argentina, uh, Guerra, Paragawa, if I'm saying that right. Excuse me for the mispronunciation of the word. Venezuela, having as much as 2 million followers. Candomblé developed a creolization of traditional Yoruba, Fun, and the Bantu belief brought from West Africa by enslaved captives in the Portuguese Empire. Between 1549 and 1818, the religions developed in Brazil, influenced by the knowledge of enslaved African priests who continued to teach their mythological, their culture, and language. In addition, Candomblé absorbed elements of the Roman Catholicism and included indigenous American traditions. I'm not going to go and read the bottom of it. This here is Shango Baptist. Many spiritual Baptist churches have overlapping membership with practitioners of the traditional Orisha region. And Trinidad, Orishas is also called Shango. Uh, and the term Shango Baptist is sometimes used to declare worship. And we know, and we don't know, most people that they may not know all of the Orishas, but they do know who Shango is. And Shango is an Orisha of thunder, lightning. Shango is an Orisha of kingship. Shango is an Orisha of dance and drums, uh, and so forth. Um, is sometimes used to describe worshipers who are involved with both spiritual baptism and Orisha slash Shango. The term Shango Baptist has come to have a negative connotation for the some worships of both spiritual baptism and Orisha Shango, who argue that those who say Shango Baptist conflate the two religions, when in fact they are separate. As some have said, there is no thing as Shango Baptist. Shango is Shango. Baptist is Baptist. Others say that Shango Baptist simply wears two hats. Their mixtures of baptism and Orisha practice is a result of similar oppression of colonial authorities in Trinidad. In practice, the Trinidad Orisha's religion is very closely connected with the spiritual baptism. Orisha worship service typical begins with a section of baptism hymns Trinidad, and in New York, Orisha events are often held at the same location as the Spiritual Baptist Church. Excuse me, family. This is my last slide. Palo. Palo, also known as La Regala de Congo. It is a religion with various denominations which are developed in Cuba among Central African slaves and their descendants who originated in the Congo Basin. It is the secondary to Lucumí, also known as Santería, among the practitioners of African derived religions in Cuba. Denominations often refer as branches, as of Palo includes Mayombe or Malombe, Monte, Biamba, or Bilamba. And I may be pronouncing a few of these words wrong. And Kingbasa. The Spanish word palo, stick, was applied to the religion in Cuba due to the use of wooden sticks in the preparation of the altars, which were used, also called la nega, el cadero, nikisi, or la.
In,
Oh, go
in,
ahead, brother. Go ahead.
in Ganga.
Okay, Inganga. I'm sorry. I know I'm pronouncing some
It's
wrong.
okay.
El Cadara.
It just means
Yeah,
like
just
cauldron.
yeah, just step in, man, at any time, man, and it
It's
stop
okay.
me, man. El Cadaro Inquese or La Pirenda, priests of Palo are known as Palaros, Tatas, men, Yayas, women, or Ingagalulo. Oh, I know I pronounced that wrong. Initiated are known as Inguyas or Pinos Nivaro. Wow, Sin Sean.
It's okay, man. Nuevo.
Yeah, Nuevo. Palo has its roots in the Congo Basin in Central Africa, from where large numbers of the Congo slaves were brought into Cuba, where the religion, and we don't even talk about that much. We don't never talk about that much as the people was taken from the Congo into the Caribbeans as well. We always talk about the Pacific region of West Africa. We don't talk about the Central Africa. We don't talk about the Congo area. I may do some on that. May do some on that soon. Palo has a root in the Congo Basin of the Central Africa from a large number of Congo slaves were brought to Cuba where the religion was organized. Palo literature, Lutogela language is a mixture of Spanish and Bantu language known as Lugar Basal or Habala Congo. I I wanted to give just show those few slides. Let me stop sharing my screen. Huh, son. Let me see. Oh yeah, I'm good. Huh. No, I don't need some. So let me stop sharing my screen. I just kind of wanted to show a couple of slides, because I know some people may not be in the traditions, and we're talking about the different branches, and we're gonna be talking about the division and so forth. I'm gonna let my brother go in, so I just wanted to kind of um show. Let me see. Hold on. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of go over and reiterate some of the different branches off of Ifa. Um, Before my brother go in, and then we kind of go in on the discussion. So I hope everybody got some or learned some out of those different slides that I presented, and everybody be kind of on board of what we're talking about in the discussion. So no sir, no sir. Hold on. I'm gonna let my brother Cuban Crisis uh go on in, and I kind of go back and forth with you too, Cuban, if I need something. And if anybody in the chat got questions, just put the questions in the chat, and me and my brother Cuban Crisis would be more than welcome to answer your questions.
Okay. Um, where do I start? Because this is a lot. Um, Okay, so the topic of this conversation is, why is there so much division amongst individuals that are initiated in these traditions, and traditions meaning the various branches: Ifa, Palo, and even within Palo, Palo Monte, Palo Mayombe, um, the other branch that you mentioned in Palo, which I tend to always forget the name. The division that occurs even within that, the division in Lucumí or Santería, and the division that occurs between the Santero, meaning a man, or a Santera, a woman that's a priest or priestess, with one from Ifa and one from the traditions of Ifa that has the division with the Santero and the Santera, the division that can occur between the Palero and the Santero, the division that can occur within Voodoo in regards to those from Palo or Santeria or Ifa, to those that's in the traditions in Trinidad, which you have um, spiritual Baptist, Shango Baptiste, and what's called Orisha, in which Shango tends to be the very center focal point. Just like in Voodoo, it tends to be Ogun, but in Creole, his name is Ogum with an M instead of an N. To Candomblé from Brazil, to even in the States here, you have hoodoo, right? To, if one is a continental African, that may say the African here in this diaspora is not practicing Ifa correctly, to the Cuban that will say the Puerto Rican isn't practicing Santeria correctly, to even in the Dominican Republic, they have Dominican Voodoo, which is called the 21 Division, which is another aspect of the tradition. So imagine on this map, people of different islands, just people of different geographical locations, all saying, no, my way's the way. This way in my house is the way. And in this will come colorism, will come the, in some ways, an anti-African mentality. And I have personally have seen this numerous times. I have seen it from so-called African Americans that have issue, that tend to be in Ifa, and there are so-called African Americans that are in Lucumí, that are in Santeria, that will have an indifference with so-called Latinos, and so-called Latinos have a difference with so-called African American, and so-called Latinos have an indifference with the Africans, and it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the brief presentation that he has shown, it is clear as day that all these traditions come from Africa. 100% are African. So when you look at Lucumí, Lucumía Santeria, I am one, as well as my wisdom, my woman, my wife, my other half. She is in the traditions. Um, and we do not subscribe to the Catholicism. And we um, may tend to get people upset in Santeria because of that. And so you look at Santeria, you look at Voodoo, you look at not Palo Mayombe, but Palo Manti and the other branch of Palo and Candomblé and um, Shango Baptiste and Spiritual Baptist, right? And all of those, there is Catholicism. There is an aspect of Catholicism within it, and it is not an unknown knowledge, and this is not some hidden secret because in the traditions, there are secrets, and for lack of better words, it is a secret society. There are things that people do not need to know unless you are initiated, and there are things that the initiated may not know if they are not as progressed as the next initiate, that they won't know and they're not supposed to know until they get to that level, or if they are even meant to get to that level. So there are things that are secrets, and they should be secrets. Um, so that way, no tampering or diluting or lies can be brought upon the traditions. And just also the fact that not everything is meant for everybody to know. Um, but the Catholicism was only there because the African had to disguise the traditions in order to survive. That's the only reason. There is no other reason. The traditions do not talk about Jesus. They do not talk about Joseph and Mary and the 12 disciples and any Catholic saints. The traditions don't talk about that. Now, the traditions deal with Orula, who is the Orisha of divination, in which this is who the Babalawo divines from, is from Orula. And Orula dwells in all places of worship because he's a divinator and because his knowledge is very profound. He's not, knowledge is not one dimensional. And there are and Patakis are all traditions of the Orishas. There are Pataki that talks about how, for example, that the Orisha, Orula, went to Mecca and the Meccans would not allow him into Mecca to learn the knowledge. So, in the traditions, and this all correlates with the division. In the traditions, we don't teach that you have to be in these traditions. We don't teach that if you're not in these traditions, you're going to hell because we don't believe in hell. We don't teach that you're damned, that you're a savage, that you're a lost soul. We don't teach that. We don't believe that because there are many paths in life. And the reality is that everybody is not going to take the same path. So by that being a a truth, what is the point of downing the next person? And so what the traditions what the traditions will say is that if this is something that you are told during a reading, that this is something that you should get into, I would say that it's best to listen to that advice and do that.
So you saying that if someone's, I'm just giving some clarity to what you're saying, just for those out there. So you saying that someone um that goes to a Iya Nifa or a Babaluau and get a divination, and the divination directs them in this path. This is the path that they should be going in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because I know people personally that do not take heed to that. and they have a really fucked up, excuse my language. They things do not go for them right in life, and they have problems because this is the path for them to take. And
Right.
the traditions deal is the traditions is about life and about character.
Hmm.
So most people that you see that are coming to these traditions, if they were not, if you were somebody that did not come out the womb, and your parents was in it, and your grandparents was in, your great grandparents was in it, and that's just where it's been. If you're somebody that eventually comes to it, that is because that is in your blood. It is in your lineage that in your family, this is what your family was upon at one point in time. And so the Agun, the ancestors are calling you saying, you need to come back home. This is where you need to be. And this is what is going to get you through life to have a better life. So most people that come to these traditions, I'll say, for example, in Palo or Santeria, most people come in these traditions because they are sick. Most people come to traditions because they are having a troublesome life. Some may be facing death. Some may be facing prison. Some may be facing depression. And so these traditions will clean you up and will help you. Um, and some people, like I know in Ifa, the things are done, there are things that are done slightly different. So typically in Santeria, what happens is you get your alekis. In Spanish, they say the goyada. So
Yeah,
you get,
that's the
you get,
yeah. That's I ain't mean to cut you out, but yeah, that's right. When your first initiation that you go through in the IFA system, you receive your Elike beat. So that's
mm-hmm.
so oh, so you saying that's what it is in IFA. You saying that's the same thing in Santeria as well?
So you receive Obatala, Oshun, Yemaya, Shango, Eligua, Eshu. This is who you receive. And then the next step would be either receiving what's called warriors
The
or
Ajagu. Yeah, we call
or
it the Ajagu in
or,
the IFA system.
or receiving your hand in Ifa.
Hmm.
Or some people, some houses may do it where you get both. After that,
Hold on, bro.
after
Hold on, bro. Because you said okay, you said the in some traditions you said they give the warrior, which is the Ajagun, and then you said they give the hands of a Rilima.
yeah, that some houses you'll get both at the same time.
Okay, yeah,
Some
cause
house,
in yeah, okay,
some,
yeah, cause right, cause some does it separately. You get after you get your warrior, which is the Ajagun, then you receive the hands of a Rilima, and the
yes,
story behind a Rilima and are ruling my kid, and the reason why you receive that a bead for your wrist to identify yourself as the son of a ruling my. But that's we'll go. I'll talk about that later on because everything that we talk about it has a oh what we call a odu behind it.
yeah,
It's a story behind everything. But go ahead. I'm sorry for breaking your
that's
bill.
okay. And then some people may have to receive Olokun. And Olokun is the Orisha that governs the bottom of the ocean. In Santeria, if it comes out that you're Omo Olokun, that you're a child of Olokun, a person will not make Ocha. They will not become a priest or priestess of Olokun because that is too much of a heavy weight to bear on a person. So then they will become a child of Yemaya because Yemaya deals with the ocean. Um, then you know, some people it may come out that they have to get scratched, and scratch is the process in Palo. And scratch, um, without really getting to too much, scratch literally means scratch. You will get cut with blades. You will get cut with knives. Like you will get cut on certain parts of your body.
It's in the A5 tradition as well, where you can get scratched and
Mm,
so forth. And before we get off here, I'm gonna give a book. You know, that talks about where it actually talks about the priest going through all the things that you're talking about through the initiation systems, and he's explaining them, and he talks about the scratch and how scared he was and what he how he had to prepare for this um before this initiation. But I'll give it to you. I'll get a book out in a minute. But yeah, this is in the Ifa tradition as well.
So then, then ultimately there's Ocha. There's Ocha, I mean, you become a priest or priestess. And so in Santeria, they use the Spanish term asiento. Asiento means that the Orisha who you are crowned, who your head is crowned, because Orisha, the first part of word Orisha is Ori, and Ori means your head. And so when you get crowned, that Orisha comes down, literally comes down and mounts you, overtakes you. There's an initiation after some point in time that an individual will then get initiated in order to speak. So when that Orisha comes down on them, they now can talk. Because otherwise the person cannot speak when the Orisha comes down on them. And so some people in Santeria do not get scratched in palo. Some do. Just like you have some people that in palo that strictly just deal with palo. And they don't ever make ocha. Um, there are people, just like in voodoo, there are people that are scared of palo because they say it's too dark. Because you're dealing with Agun, you're dealing with the dead. And so it's suggested that before you get palo, that you get some light because the darkness can be too much for a person. Um, so that's just like a little quick explanation. But the there are houses, particularly in Cuban houses, that are very strict. I was in a house one time where I was told I had to get baptized, and I don't want to be baptized. And one of the things you'll learn in these traditions is you always follow your intuition. Your intuition is your Egun speaking to you. And my intuition is very anti-Christianity. That's something for me not to have any dealings with, because that's just something that my Egun, my mortal is opposed to.
But let me ask you something, bro, Cuban Crisis.
Mhm.
Why is it okay? Now we you talked about, and I showed in the slides previously also about the different branches of Lucumí, which is Santería, Candomblé, uh, um, uh, uh, Shango Baptist, and so forth. Um, uh,
Your volume's down.
Hold on one second. I don't know why. Can you hear me now?
It's like you sound really far away.
I don't know what that could be. Hold on, let me see. My volume all the way up. Am I low out there too, family? Let me know if I'm low. I know it's a delay. But am I low, or can y'all hear me pretty good out there? Yes, no, maybe so. I can hear you. Nah, you good. No. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they say they can hear me. Um, but I was asking, um, what why is it that in the traditions we know that the Atlantic slave trade, when our ancestors went into these regions as far as the Caribbeans, uh, South America, uh, North America, and so forth, and we knew that they knew that in order for us to keep our traditions and our cultures intact, we had to hide them, or we have to synchronize them with the colonizer or the slave masters traditions. Why is it now in 2008 that you have they are still utilizing or still synchronizing Christianity into the original traditions, and why they not? I don't understand why they're not leaving it alone. This is 2000. We don't have to hide it no more. You're not per se on the plantation anymore. It's not per se illegal for you to practice your indigenous spiritual system or religion.
It's done uh because it's done because people, it's a combination. People are indoctrinated. It's like the last time I came on here, we were talking about so-called Latinos and stuff like that, and why there is the racism and the colorism that comes from them, and they do to other so-called Latinos and to so-called African Americans. It is this. This is the whole ish. This is the whole. This is the answer to the topic of why there is division in these traditions, because people are indoctrinated and people love to follow tradition. And following traditions can be good, but there's some traditions that was only put in place because of survival. And so some people take it to heart and they're like, because when you're dealing the traditions and you're acknowledging the Agun, you have some people that it okay, in their family there was Catholics, there was Christians, right? So they are giving homage to these ancestors that were Christians. Now my thing is, what about if you have a go to your family that were Muslim? How come you don't go to Juma? How come you don't read the Quran? How come you don't go to the masjid or something? But they excuse me real quick. I'm sorry, I just got sneezed. They're paying homage to these traditions that at the root of it is indoctrination. That me personally, it like burns me inside, because I say that because for someone to turn, which this happened not long ago, someone to sit there and tell me that Jesus Christ is Olofi. I wanted to rip this person's head off their body, because what Africans went through and what Africans went through going through the diaspora, and this was their indigenous traditions, and for what they had to go through and be persecuted and tormented and tortured and raped and pillaged and all the evils we could think that was done to them. And then you give them some Jesus and some Christianity, something that is first of all fictitious. I will never debate anybody about the Orishas and Egun. The reason I will never do that is because I'm not going to debate with somebody who is you have not experienced this. So there's no room for debate because you haven't experienced it. I can sit there and tell you about this and that and what I've been through and what other people have been through, but you're not going to believe it until you see it. And then you have the people who sit there and say, well, if that's the case, what about the Christian that says that they experience this? What about the Muslim that says they experience that? And they experience these things, And so because it gets into that, I leave it alone. And I'm just like, you just gonna have to experience it. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not here to change your mind. These traditions do not teach to go and propagate and convert people. That's what the oppressor did to us, was to propagate and to convert us and to take us from our ways. And so when you see individuals that are gay, homosexual in these traditions, and they want to use the analogy and say, well, first of all, the Orisha is not a male or female. Well, my argument to that is you're sadly wrong, because Shango was a king. Shango had wives and he had concubines. Shango was alpha male. Shango was a womanizer. Ogun had women. Obatala had a wife. Oya, Yemaya, Oshun, they had husbands. They had children. And so they'll then use the logic and say, well, Santa Barbara is Shango. Because in Catholicism, Santa Barbara is a woman. But Santa Barbara was only used to disguise Shango, because when you look at Santa Barbara has an axe, and Santa Barbara is wearing the colors of Shango, which is red and white. And in some pictures, you'll see Santa Barbara with a crown, or there's like a tower, like a castle in the background. But they didn't use Santa Barbara because Shango was gay, or to say it's okay to be gay. It was just a means of survival. And it was to confuse the slave master. So you get people who think like this, and they want to twist things to suit their own ways. And at the root of this is all because people have been indoctrinated. And you can meet people that may be babalaos or priests, and they may know their odus, and they may know, how to do ebos real good, and this, that, and the third, and they know what they're doing, but they may be lacking another aspect, which is called history. And that other aspect, which is knowledge, which I say goes back to looking at Odolamore. If Odolamore dwells in all places of worship, Odolamore was universal, meaning he was universal with knowledge. He wasn't just limited. There's Patakis that talk about Asians. There's Patakis that talk about a lot of things. And even when you look at divination is not just limited to Africa. You have divination in indigenous native traditions. You have divination that exists in India. You have divination that exists in Asia. Divination is a universal thing, and it's a universal knowledge. It's not just limited and confined to a particular people. Um, I they like I was saying, you have some houses you join, they say you have to be baptized. Show me in Africa where the people in the Yoruba land were being baptized. There is no baptism. So now you won't let me progress my spiritual you won't let me progress spiritually in your house because you want me to be baptized? Or I've heard I've heard people who are priestess and priests talk about the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And it's like it's mind-boggling, because it's like, where do you get this from when you're dealing with Orisha? If you want to talk about a Trinity, then let's talk about Olofi, Orun, Arula, and Odolamare. Or let's talk about in ancient Kemet, the Netarus, that you might consider, say that's a Trinity aspect, or someone telling you that, if there's other there's other things that are incorporated into Santeria as well besides Catholicism. You have what's called the Kardec system, and Kardec was a Frenchman who was a spiritualist. And so this concept of spiritualism, Eurocentric spiritualism, was incorporated years later into what we know today as Santeria. So when you see people have what's called a boveda, which is a table with a white tablecloth with 7 glasses of water, symbolizing the main orishas in their quadro. and the center glass being the head of their egun. And people say, okay, you got to put a crucifix in the water. You know, like there's 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 ways to maneuver through it without dealing with that. You just
So
there's
what
the, you
about?
know, and so
Oh, my
but
bad. I'm.
but
Go
you
ahead.
have
Go ahead.
people, you have people that hold on to things. It's like, did you even know that that comes from a guy named Kardak? Have you even looked up who Kardak was? Um, Tell me, did the people in Africa talk about Kardak system? Why do we? It's sort of like, it reminds me of like the Nation of Islam. Now you have them dealing with Scientology, and they have to be audited, and they have to be audited because, you know, this is going to help them clean themselves up. But then you go back to the origin of the Nation of Islam, and you look at the student enrollment, and you look at the question, what is the set birth record of Islam? And the answer is, there is no set birth record of Islam. Islam is older than the sun, moon, and stars, and is all wise, right, and exact. Elijah Muhammad was alive during the time of L. Ron Hubbard. Why did he not tell black people to get audited then? But now you got somebody years later say you got to get audited. It's like there was white people in existence in the time of the Africans. Why did they not say, this is how we're going to do it? Because that wasn't the way it was intended to be. They had their own tradition. They had their own system that works, that still works. And just people are caught up in indoctrination and traditions, and then think that they are superior because they're from one particular place, and that their way is the best way. And um and it's arrogance. Now, what I will say is that the traditions coming to the Western Hemisphere, Haiti, Cuba, Brazil, and stuff like that, the traditions help preserve it helped preserve the traditions to exist. And there has to be credit where credit needs to be given. And there is um things that do not absolutely go 100% in line with how people may practice Ifa in Africa, because there was Africans that were killed coming over to the New World. And so some of these people that were killed, or some of these people that may have committed suicide jumping off ships, were people that may have been babalaos, they may have been priests and priestess. And so that knowledge was lost because it's an oral tradition. So the tradition was preserved the best way in which it could be preserved. And I say all that, to try to repeat myself, I say all that to say that people in these traditions, a lot of them, I firmly believe that they act like a typical Christian and a typical Muslim that gets caught up in dogmatism and does not take the time to and deal with academia,
I agree.
and look at things from an academic perspective versus a dogmatic perspective.
Mhm. I agree. I agree. And what do you think about? Okay, because we're talking about the division between, the tradition for with the different branches, also with the synchronizing of of the colonizer or the oppression religion into the indigenous tradition, and forgetting about the indigenous tradition, and gravitating more toward the colonizer and the slave master religion. But like in Santeria, also y'all practice ancestor worship. So with the ancestor worship, or what we call the Oja Ogun, which is the face of the ancestors of the ancestor shrine, where we set a shrine up to the Agungun, which is the ancestors. Um, would a person, because you talked about a while ago, would a person be wrong, or how would you feel about it? Uh, if a person, let's say, okay, that person grandfather was a Christian, or he gravitated more to the Christianity than he did uh his own indigenous religion or spiritual system, and he have on his altar or his Ojagun, he has a Bible, and the Bible is set out on a certain verse, and then he may have uh let's just say his mother may have been uh, uh, Aberration, a high priestess in Ifa, and she left her beads, her alike beads, and she has her mother's alike beads on the altar. Would that person be wrong to honor and venerate and worship uh his father, even though his father is not committed to the indigenous tradition that he comes from, even though he may be practicing Santería, he may be in Candomblé, he may be in Shango Baptist, he may be in Lucumí, he may be in Palo, but he's gravitating more to the colonizer or the slave master religions more than his indigenous religion. Would he be wrong for having a Bible with his father's favorite Bible verse on the Ojagun, as well as he may have all the other things far as his far as the a spiritual system of religion that his family come out of, which is Ifa. He may have all types of things on there, but he has this one particular thing in honor of his grandfather, who may have practiced more of being a Christian, more of being a Catholic, and so forth. Would that individual be wrong for revering his ancestors? Even though I wouldn't agree with it, but I think um I would do that. I don't have my altar set up right now, but I have had my altar set up in the past, and in the past, but I had no things of my grandfather, my grandmother, and things. But when I put my altar back up, I'm going to erect something, because we know we can put all kind of things to honor our ancestors. Like I could put my grandmother uh favorite food, you know what I'm saying, on the altar. You know, I can put my grandfather favorite cologne and so forth. I can do that without putting other things, but I've been thinking about maybe, because they was diehard Christians, and I was thinking about maybe putting a Bible or something on there, with my grandfather, maybe his my grandmother's favorite quote that she might have said. Would me or that individual be wrong for revering or honoring their ancestor, that may not that you may not agree with what they did, but you still gonna try to honor them because you know this was dear to their heart? Would that individual or me be wrong for doing that?
I would say no, because it wouldn't be wrong, because again, the traditions is about life. And so that person that was a part of your life, you are connected to that person. And that's an aspect of your history. Though you may have the differences, but the reality is it's like that the reality still is that's a part of your history. That there was black people that committed to Christianity. And so that is your ancestor, and that's what they believed. And you respect it, and I don't see nothing wrong with it. Um, but on the other hand, I'm the type of person that when I do certain things, I always seek approval. I get,
Mm-hmm.
get the shells, get the coconut shells thrown down, and I ask. But there's tons of people who do that, and I don't like. If I walked in someone's house and saw that, I would totally understand. That's someone of your lineage. That's what they were in. That's what they died, and so you're paying respect to them. Like um, it's like you said, you can. There's many things you can offer. You can offer, you know, Agun ancestors tend to like tobacco. They tend to like liquor. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Right.
and that's just there's people I know in the traditions, they can't stand smoking. But when it comes to you trying to work with your ancestors and you want some things done, you better smoke that cigar. You better smoke that cigar and suck that up, because that's what they like. And if you want things to work, that's what's going to invoke them.
Right.
Um, in the case of Palo Mayombe does not deal with any Christianity.
Well,
Um,
okay, even with Paulo, even going back to, I'm glad you said that, because I want to get some, because I'm familiar with all of them but Paulo. And
mm,
like I said, Paulo was the new slide that I added because I didn't
mm.
have that in my first PowerPoint. But even with that, with some clarity, okay, with Saturnalia, it was not I don't know why I keep saying that, but Santeria,
It's all right,
out
man.
man, but with Santeria and Lucame. Now, I have seen where it's like Santeria is specifically with the synchronizing of Catholicism, but Lucambe is non-synchronized. They did not synchronize. Those that say they practice Lucambe does not um, have the element of Catholicism or Christianity into it. So I'm trying to get some clarity on that because, like I said, the things that I have seen, like
It
it always
it
gives me
it
two.
it boils down to the lineage that you come through, or the lineage of who your godfather or godmother is. And so if that's what you feel comfortable with in that house, then that's just what you go with. So I've been sort of like at a standstill for a while with the traditions because I have not found a house until recently, someone I'm comfortable with, because I don't want to deal with Christianity, and there are people that they don't deal with it. They in Palo, I believe that's Palo Monte. Palo Monte deals with Christianity. They deal with that. All right. In Palo Mayombe, they don't. In the other Palo that I keep forgetting the name, it's kind of like a combination of both. Um, but in Palo, it's strictly, you know, the Nganga, the ancestors, the Nikizi. Nikizis would be like the equivalent of Orishas. Like, they wouldn't, like, there's equivalents to Ogun and Shango and Oya, but they have different names. And in Palo tends to work faster than dealing with Orisha. Orisha tends to take time when they want to do what they want to do. And so in Palo, you get faster results if you want things done. But Palo is very that Nganga, the cauldron, that has to be fed, And so if you don't live up to your part with taking care of what you need to take care of, then you're gonna have problems. Palo is very powerful, and there's a lot of people that they don't like to deal with it.
Do you think that there'll ever be well, it won't ever be a division between, like you were saying, like even what you stating where the synchronism of the colonizer and the slave master religion. We see as a separate between that two, because you have some that doesn't gravitate towards the colonizer, the slave master religion, and say, let's throw that out, let's deal with straight our indigenous system. So it's the vision between the two and the fight between the two and the geographical locations. Because even in Ifa, you do see that where you will have uh, some people in a certain geographical location will say that the people that practice Ifa traditions here is not practicing the Ifa traditions right. So they look down on the people in North America
Mm-hmm.
that practice Ifa because they say they are not practiced they're not practiced properly, uh, and so forth. Or this other region may say this region is not practicing it correct because of certain things that may happen during the Atlantic slave trade and the different things dealing with the language, and even with you stating We know that some of our ancestors jumped to their death on those ships um, um, to avoid, being oppressed by their enemy. So do you see that it will ever will it you think there will ever be a chance that it won't be a division between between those different branches, or even with the
I
locations?
I am totally um I'm not a romanticist, and I don't see it happening anytime soon. And there was an Odu that was given um about slavery that Africans did not take heed to in regards to slavery, and then they wound up in captivity. I've heard this from many different babalaos. And so I think that there's a verse in the Quran that says until a person changes the condition or works or changes the condition of themselves or them or their condition of their people, that Allah will not change the condition of the people. So I think that until people really work hard on changing the condition that they're in, Orisha is not going to help. Agun's not going to help. It's like if we sat all day and say, "Oh, I want this, I need this," and da 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 da, but you're not even putting in the work. You're not. What are you doing for your Orisha? What are you doing for your Agun? Why are they going to work for you? And then the other thing is that should we really be asking Orisha and Agun for things like money and materialism? Should it be that we should be asking for spiritual elevation and knowledge and health? And those other things, these finite uh materialistic things will come into play. Because I know people sit there, it's only convenient that they want to do an ebo when they want something. And it's like in our actuality, we should be doing ebos almost every day. When you're feeding your morta, your agun, that plate of food, that whatever you offered, like 3 days top, that should be taken someplace and discarded as your ebo. Or, are we doing head rogations? Where there's a bow done to self that someone gives you to bring clarity to your ori. Like I that's my take on it. And someone in the room had asked if I believe that Orishas were people. Absolutely. I know it may sound pseudo. I know it may sound crazy to some people,
Oh,
but I
he said
absolutely.
he remember someone asked you that question before, and because I asked him, did he want me to ask you that question, but he told me that was saying any Sean California, but he said he remember your answer. I guess you answered that
Yeah.
somewhere else, so he told me to mind. But Hotep Black History 365, that's I am my brother's keeper. What's going on with you, Sin? But Senate Mo asked me to ask you to define spiritual elevation.
Well, in the case of the traditions, all right, I'm gonna let
Oh,
me.
she just saying she's asking too because she said our tradition toss the terms around. So she said she's just asking.
I, for example, I'll give you an example. Let's just say we were Christians, right? And we want to be better Christians. So the Christian tends to, they study their Bible. They do they to do unto others as they would do unto themselves. To keep the laws, to believe what they believe in. The Muslim is to pray 5 times a day, believe in the oneness of Allah, to give charity, to make Hajj, to fast, um, to memorize Quran and to do. Muslims are really big on doing deeds, making sure your deeds, your good deeds, outweigh your bad deeds. In the traditions, I would say that spiritual elevation is when you are working with your egun, is when you sit and you meditate and you sit with your eguns. You talk to your eguns, literally have conversation, talk to them, offer them things, listen. I know some people may say, well, how are you going to listen to them? And that's like a whole nother subject. And some people,
Yeah,
may not believe in it.
we may come back and do something on that, man, because I really do want to talk, talking there so we can, you ain't got to go into it because we'll come
But
back another.
do like work. See, the thing is, in these traditions, okay, ebo means an offering, right? So there's many different types of ebos. You could do, let's just say, for example, you need something. Let's just say, for example, housing. You're having an issue with housing, something with a bill. There's ebos that you can do for aligua or eshu, and you will go to a crossroad. And there's many different ebos, different things you can offer aligua or eshu. You could go to a bank and leave an ebo offering at the bank. Um, there's things you can do that is just dealing with herbs. Like say you're a woman, say you're on your menses. Say you're having a really bad day, a really rough day. You had a rough day at work. Your husband's driving you crazy. The kids are driving you crazy. You know that your mouth is getting a little loose. You're in a bad mood. You could take a milk bath. You could take a bath with lukewarm water, add milk to it, add some honey to it, add some white flowers to it, sit in it, and just relax and meditate. And these are just things where the herbs and everything is going into your pores and it's just
Spir-
relaxing you. It's
Spiritual
not,
bad, spiritual
it's
bad.
not, it's not, a lot of times Ebolas are band-aids. It's not necessarily the cure, the remedy, because there may be other things that you're going to have to do in order to achieve that cure and remedy to the problem. So that's why you have people that come in the traditions that's why they have to make ocha. That's why they have to make warriors. That's why they
Hmm.
have to get initiated because their condition is not going to change until they come into these traditions wholeheartedly. There may be other people, you don't need to do that. That's not meant for you. And then there's the aspect too. There's the aspect too that there are things in which it's not that you need a babalao. It's not
And
that you need a priest or priestess. You just
yeah,
need a damn therapist.
and
You
she
know what I
said,
mean? You
yeah.
need to sit and talk to somebody.
Hmm.
So it's in the traditions it's you don't get all clouded and spooky. Like some people may think that, but you don't. You have to look at things, you know, practically. When people say, "Well, how do you know a reading is real?"
And see
Um,
that goes back though, brother. I am not trying to interrupt, but that goes back to I believe that you know, and I'm using the word believe. I don't even really like to use the word belief or belief, but that it is an important to be in these initiatory systems because I say that because I see a lot of stuff that goes on Facebook. Like I usually don't indulge in none of this stuff, and I usually like I go on, I look at certain people stuff, and I get off of Facebook, and I post up, and then lately I go on. I hadn't been on Facebook. It's tough. It's tough. I might post something and get off, and a lot of times I hadn't really been posting a whole lot of stuff, just a lot of my things, but I've just been noticing, I've been looking. That's why the other day I had made a post like, wow, I'm seeing so many people making all types of crazy claims and so forth. And it's lack to their understanding and their knowledge because they're not being initiated in any type of African tradition. I'm just speaking for African traditions.
mhm,
There are levels of information. You know what I'm saying? This is where we give the school, the levels of schooling. You go through the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and then you graduate when you get to the 12. Then you go to the college level. This is another span of knowledge. This is you are going through initiatory system. These are levels of knowledge that you are going through. You won't understand geometry unless you take a regular math. You know what I'm saying? And understand your one, twos, and threes, and so forth. So these are different levels. So it's very important because, and like I'm saying, any initial, I'll speak for the ones that I know of. Voodoo, you know what I'm saying? Initiatory systems, E5, initiatory system, Santería, initiatory systems, um, um, the traditions in Ghana, initiatory systems that they go through in Ghana. So in Togo and Benin and so forth, they go through initiatorial systems. So it is very important to go through these. Um, hold on, Cuba. I didn't think you were pseudo, bro, but I know as soon as I won't feel that way no more, you continue your journey. Kofi, you
I was
started.
just reading that, and I just want to say, who the reason why.
Oh, he said he didn't think you was pseudo. Now he's saying he
No,
didn't
no,
think you
no,
was.
I know, but that if I continue my journey, I won't see that. The thing is this, that things that I have experienced, um, and I really don't like to talk about these things publicly because people may think, yo, Malik may need a psychotherapist. You know what I mean? But there's things that I've experienced and there's things I've seen, um, that I undoubtedly um know that that Orisha is real.
And
And
you and I understand. I wouldn't explain it because I understand, and the reason why I'm saying I understand, and maybe others too, because once you deal into the spiritual systems and you understand those spiritual systems, and you see or some of the things that are in some of the oral traditions and some of the things that our ancestors did, they experiencing certain things. You'll be like, wow, some people may say that's spooky, that's what's the name, but I don't see those individuals calling our ancestors out for some of the things. Because I can't speak for your experience, just like a person can't speak for my experience. Like I
mhm,
can say some things right now, especially when I had my altar set up, and some things that I was doing when I had my altar set up. Those are my experiences that I had. And if I share those experiences with a person that may not have experience, he may look at me like I'm crazy. He may look at me like I need a psychiatrist. I need some psychiatric help and so forth because they have not experienced some of the experiences that I have, what I'm saying, that I may have, that I may have encountered. So I understand what you're saying. That's why I say a lot of people don't understand and I always talk about practicing the application. A lot of individuals that we see, they are not. They'll say that they are African centered. They'll say that they pan Africanist. They'll say that they are part of this tradition. They're part of that tradition. They this, they that, but they're not practicing the application. The same way we have people running around here saying that they're Christians, they're Muslims, they giving themselves all these types of titles. And it just goes back to me saying I'm a doctor, which I am in the process of getting my PhD, which in the next 3 years I will have my PhD. But it's just like me saying it's like me saying I'm a doctor and I'm a surgeon, right? But in order to be a surgeon, I have to study. I have to study. Well, we say we had to in masonry, we had to say we have to meet suitable proficiencies in these preceding degrees. So
mhm,
I have to be well studied and I have to apply it. I have to become a practitioner in the title of being a doctor. That means I have to practice it. So I have to study, then I have to go out and I have to start doing surgeries on people. A lot of us get the information, we can recite the information, do this and that, but we're not actually applying in that application to our life. We're not doing that. So that's why you will have a lot of people saying a lot of things and saying they something that they are not because they truly don't understand it because they have not applied the application to their life. And I tell people all the time, you don't oppress me by spitting or memorizing some stuff in the book or something that you read or something that you heard or you saying you this and that. But if you not showing it to me, you know what I'm saying? I can't take you serious because you're not applying the application to
Yeah.
your life. So I understand
Faith
exactly
without
what you're
works is
saying.
dead.
Right, right. I'm sorry, I just went on a little rant. I
Nah,
don't.
nah. And the thing is, like the brother who said that, I respect that brother. You know what I mean? And the thing is how can I say this? I I don't know him. I
Oh,
know,
he wasn't disrespectful.
I know a little ways into, so it's like I understand his perspective. And the thing is, I respect his perspective, and I don't take it offensive. I really, truthfully don't, because if I was in his shoes, I'd probably be saying the same shit. Or excuse me, I'd probably be saying the same thing. Like, down the line, you're gonna. But these traditions is different. Like when I was a Muslim, and I was a devout Muslim, very devout Muslim. I did everything but Hajj. I was accepted to going to the University of Medina. My Arabic used to be very proficient, reading and writing. Um, I didn't listen to music. My beard was like, I was really into it, but the thing is, I never felt anything. I didn't feel anything making salat. I didn't feel anything from that. The only time I would feel anything was, and even now, like if I was to recite Quran, if you recite Quran and you know what you're reciting and you reflect on what you're reading, there may be things in it that's touching. There may be things that's deep. But if you don't know what you're saying, you're not really going to feel nothing. But with the traditions, like I said, it is. Let me just say this: when I was 14 years old, um, I was in my house, and it was August, and it was summertime, and I'm in my drawers on the couch watching TV. It's at nighttime. In my living room comes thunder and lightning, and I'm like, "Oh, transformer must have blew." And I'm like, "Okay," but the TV's still on. you know, it happens again. When it happens again, this time I'm like, let me check the outlets. I check all the outlets in the house. I check the power box. Nothing. It happened a third time. It happens the third time I go to my adopted mother's bedroom and she's asleep. And I wake her up. I'm like, you didn't hear that? You didn't see that? She's like, boy, leave me alone. I'm sleeping. I go outside with a flashlight. I check around the house. I check the neighbors' houses. I'm in my boxers and a wife beater, right? Barefoot, just checking shit, checking things. And there's a transformer in the back of the house. There was no transformer destroyed. There was no signs of lightning outside striking. Like there was nothing. People's houses, their lights were on. Now, the summertime, I'm going into high school. In high school, there's a kid that I was in junior high school with, but we never talked. And he was Honduran and Puerto Rican. And this was around Halloween time. We were gonna go on a on one of those hay rides. So he tells me, his mother wants to meet me. I go there. His mother's Puerto Rican. She comes out the house. She's smoking a cigarette. She's just looking me up and down. This woman didn't know me from a can of paint. Nothing about me, and read me. Now, mind you, I'm seeing Efun, which is Kokori. The Efun is the little white chalky stuff, right? And I'm seeing Efun around the outside of their house. I go inside, I see the baby dolls. I'm seeing things offered. I didn't know who Eshu Eligua was at the time. I'm seeing candy and toys presented to him and all this stuff. His mother did not know me at all, read me like a book, and said, Shango came to visit you. I'm like, who the hell Shango? She's like, he came and visit you. You know what I'm talking about. He came and visit you in your living room. Um, something that's unanimous in my readings, and I'm just going to give these two things away. Something that is unanimous in every reading I've ever had with people who never knew me is the fact that I'm adopted. That always, always comes out. The fact that my father and my mother and sister, that they died when I was little. From people that I don't even know. People from Philly to people from Camden to people from the Bronx to people from Brooklyn, from people from South, people who don't know me. How the hell you gonna tell me in detail about my father and my mother and my sister and how they died and what they look like? There's so so these are just some two examples of why I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Orisha and the Agun is very real. That there is more to life than what we just see with the eye. That there is something beyond this life. There is the dead. The dead do communicate. The dead do exist.
And
And
that's embedded in the
and
system. That's embedded. That's what I'm saying. Any African system, it has ancestor worship in it. It talks about dancing. It talks about going in trances, and the ancestors are communicating through the individuals that are in the trance from the drums and from the dance. They have tapped into the Egungun, the ancestral realm, and the ancestors are communicating through them. They are being possessed, what they call possessed, or riding your back, and they are communicating through them. Even when you die, when the rites of one of your rites of practice is death, and you are leaving here to go back and communicate with your dead ancestors in the ancestral realm to tell them what's also is happening here, so happening here, so when you are reincarnated they can help you transition through the next life.
yes. I think that the problem is when it comes to this topic of death and the dead and communicating with the dead or something like Orisha. And the thing is, I get it because I used to be Muslim and I understand that the three major religions has indoctrinated so much that we tend to think about things from the perspective of Judeo-Christianity and Islam. And the thing is that in these traditions, if we want to talk about like a creator or whatever, it's not something that is, first of all, that's why the Babalao is the Babalao. He's the father of secrets because he deals with the Orisha of divination, Orula. But the concept of creator is not something that we dwell on because it's something that you're not even going to comprehend. It's not something to um, go on and on and on and on and on and about because there's just mysteries that we are not going to understand. And it's not the same as, again, it's not the same as a Judeo-Christian Islamic perspective, God, or afterlife, and like these are the people who say, oh, these are spirits, these are demons, these are this is Satan that's influencing you. And so and so you think about it, you say, well, first of all, um why is this is just argument's sake, right? Because in these traditions we don't believe in the devil, we don't believe in Satan. But let's just talk about Satan and say, how can we really blame Satan for anything? Because your God created everything, and your God created Satan, and your God gave free will, and your God is is omnipotent in those past, present, and future. So your God knew what was going to happen. Your God knew that he was going to create this entity to cause mischief and havoc on the planet and lead people to hell. Like that doesn't even make sense. And that's a very sadomasochist, jealous, strange concept of God. You know, the traditions is about life, and in life, there is positive and negative. And so you have life and you have death. There could be a major earthquake. It could be, let's just say, a 12.0 earthquake that comes through, and let's just say it wiped out the whole continent of South America, let's just say. Now, is that God's fault? Or is that just the nature of things, how it came out to be? Was that just
Right.
part of universal
That's
law?
a
Was that
part of
just a part of what that was just what it was meant to be?
right,
You
right.
know, like
Nature.
there's no tsunamis do not discriminate. Hurricanes do not discriminate.
Mhm,
Everybody's catching the wrath.
mhm.
You know, and that is just life. There's if we were in outer space, there's gonna be planets exploding. There's gonna be planets being created. There's gonna be asteroids and comets and black holes, and that is just creation. That's just what it is. It's not something to get all wrapped up in because
Right. Because
it's about you here. And what are you here going to do to make you here a better person? And what are you here going to do to make your surroundings better? It's not about some person floating around the sky. That is what those religions teach. And so I think that people learn those concepts and then they began to think, well, this is what it has to be about with these guys because they believe in orishas or they believe in spirits. So it kind of has to be on the same line. And
but
it's
they
just
don't
not because
understand it. They don't
it,
like
it
again, it's just a lack of knowledge, bro Cuban. And I'm glad like we having this discussion because even though I done three parts of the introduction, I may go back and do something like what you saying with the Orishas, explaining the Orishas a little bit more different and the attributes of the Orishas. Even what you was talking about, you was talking about herbs and certain things. You were talking about spiritual baths. You were talking about certain herbs that we can give to offer to these Orishas, and even understanding the archetype. Those because for I know seeing Sean, he understand this because when you talk about the attributes or the archetypes of the nature ooze come with certain types of archetypes and attributes, what I'm saying, that deals when we know they are not corporal beings, but they do exist when we talk about certain things, even when you just talked about nature, what I'm saying, because all most we talking about the forces of nature, what I'm saying, the forces in the universe. We're talking about certain things that deal with the functions of the body and so forth. When we talk about the natures, or we talk about the orishas, or the luau's, and so forth. And you talked about the tornadoes, and do we credit the devil for that? Like when you talk about the tornadoes or hurricane, we credit that to Oya. When change is finna take place, Oya comes through. Oya is an Orisha. Oya was married to Shango. She was married to Ogun before she was married to Shango. Oya represents hurricanes. She represents storms. She represents wind, and she also represents change because when destruction comes, there comes a change. So people not understanding these things. That's why I'm saying it's a lack of knowledge, and it's due to those are not taking what they're learning and applying in the application to their life, or not even going further or being initiated in these systems and furthering their education so they can have a more and better understanding. So when people say things, they won't be taken back or looking crazy. So I may do something dealing with the different types of herbs that you could offer to the Orishas, the different types of things you can utilize for spiritual baths, what the spiritual baths are for, what the smudging of the house is for, certain things for what is the attributes of these orishas. How do you utilize these attributes and archetypes of these orishas to give these people a better understanding? Because again, like you said, it's due to us being indoctrinated through the three major organized religion, and that is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Man, we done been on almost 2 hours, and I said, maybe an hour and a half, and I'm enjoying myself, man. We're
Yeah.
gonna get one more question. Mo got a question in here. She
Yeah,
says,
I was just checking her questions. See, I like
mm,
how she thinks. And the thing is that I respect her questions because
mm,
yeah, so she,
hey,
I get her. I get her.
you see, she says, why can we not understand mystery? And does anyone understand? If so, who are the successors? Hmm. You want to answer that, or you want me to answer that? Because
Well,
I mean, I can give her a piece of the answer because I'll be honest with you. I don't have all the answers, but I can give you,
exactly.
you know,
And
right.
we're not meant to have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of
I,
all, our
I
brain.
said an hour and a half seeing Sean. That joker, he be getting on me about that time, bro. And I said an hour and a half, man. I'm over 30 minutes. Oh, but go ahead. I'm sorry, Q.
No, I just think that you know we're not meant to know all the answers, and that's okay. There's things, there's wisdom, there's knowledge, and there's wisdom, and there's understanding that as human beings we can have. But there are things that we're just not going to understand. There's things that animals understand, and there's things that animals don't understand. And I just think that that's the nature of because she said, I think she said something about making a comparison with Christianity. So I'm trying to switch it up, just make a comparison with different life. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody has different levels of knowledge,
Right.
and there's different levels of understanding. There's different levels of application, and there's certain things that I just I'm going to sound like a broken record, but there's just certain things we are not going to know, and I'm fine with that because um I don't first of all, our brains couldn't even process having all the knowledge. It's a lot to, and I guess it also depends on, in regards to mysteries. What do you mean? Like what it exactly what? There's things that I'm not even qualified to talk about because
Eh,
I'm not initiated with certain things.
right. Right.
So there's certain things I'm going to abstain from speaking about, but there's things I will talk about based on conversations I've had with certain people to have
Mm-hmm.
an understanding of certain things. So I'll
Yeah.
just say that in the traditions, it's about life, and um, it's not like in Islam, for example. You know, the second chapter of the Quran says that Allah sits um he sits upon he rose above his arse, his throne, and he's above the seventh heaven. Now in Islam, you have the Islamic world argues about this. There's some that say that that doesn't mean that's where Allah is. Some say Allah is everywhere. Some say the knowledge of Allah is everywhere. But looking at that, and the reality is, don't none of y'all know. If you want to use that term for God, the creator, Allah, don't none of y'all know. It's like if you want to flip it to evolution and you want to look at, this came from this and this came about this way, there's always going to be, well, how did this come about? What created this? What created the atom? And then what created that, which created the atom? And what created that, which created that, which created the atom? And what created this? And what it's an ongoing thing that I don't think people are ever going to know. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, knowing, let's just say you had all this knowledge, you had all this mystery, this knowledge of all these mysteries and stuff. What does that have to do with you living? What does that have to do with food, clothing, and shelter? What does that have to do? If I knew everything about the creator, is that going to cure the world of homelessness and diseases and famine and war and colorism and sexism and classism? No. because then you're gonna have a bunch of people that's not gonna give a shit. It's like it's just we're just not gonna know everything. I hope that kind of answered the question. I probably did a horrible job, but like
Yeah, but
I
it's
just think there's just things we're not gonna know.
yeah, we not
And
gonna
and
know
and
everything. We just not gonna know everything. I mean, and make sure we say it is a progressive science. That means we gonna forever learn. It's no one's gonna know everything. And I do agree with what Jadar Spirit said. With some things we can explain mystery. We can explain certain mysteries. Far as how the universe was created, how the planets was created, how the atmosphere was created, how the ionosphere was created, how the atom, the molecule, how tissue. We can explain those. Those were mysteries at one time, so we can explain some mysteries through science. But again, we all is not going to know. We're not going to know everything. And even with the Babaluau, we have, and they are called by many names in different African traditions. Those are the high priest, the fathers of mystery, uh, um, and they do not know everything. Those are the ones that people go to, that they get their information from Orulima through the divination system, this binary code that they do with the slashes that has 256 odus, and they have to learn 1,160, and they said there has no one ever has mastered all of the odus except Orulima, because Orulima was there. He was present when Odemare or Olevran was creating matter or creating
yes,
the world. He was present, so he knows everything, because he was present there with the supreme being or with the creator doing creation. So the Babaluaus, and no matter what tradition you in, no matter how, when we go to them and we seek them from counsel, we want them to divine for us, and they consult the Rulimar through these things, we still um they still don't know everything. And but like I said, I agree with what he was saying about learning more about the mission. But I wanted to throw the Baba Luau's in, because some people think that the Baba Luau's and the Iyanifas, and the Aberishas and so forth, they know it all, but they don't know it all. But they have to go through so much in order to, especially to become a Baba Luau. You see what I'm saying? Anyone can become a priesthood, become a what they call the elhan, and elhan is you become in a priesthood. This is like the fourth initiation into the Ifa tradition, where you can become a priest, what they call an ab orisha. You're just a priest. You're in the priesthood, but you have to go through these initiation, far as the Likes, as far as the Algagun, which is the warrior greed, the Anifa, which is the hand of Arulimar, and you have to go through the priesthood, which is called the Elahan. So these are different stages that you, and different levels of knowledge that you have to go through. Then you have to go through more years in order to be a Baba Luau. But still, when they go through all this, they still don't understand. They do not master the whole things, because, like I'm saying, the old dudes that they given is 256. But they said it's like over 1,106, and I have seen that there are more, so they can never master all of these things. So no one would know, would know it all. But they still, let me see. I'm sorry, y'all. We will be here all night if we keep y'all, but it's good. I like the bill. With the bill that we have, and
I
y'all
just want to throw.
interaction with the people. Yeah,
I just want
go
to throw
ahead.
something in. This is something that I think about a lot. Let's just take ourselves for 1 minute. Individuals.
Excuse me.
How is it that our heart knows what to do, and our lungs and our kidneys and our pancreas, everything in our body? I'm not controlling the shit. Excuse me. I'm not telling, okay, pump, pump, go ahead, pump, go ahead, breathe. I'm not doing that. And there's and what created, what made, what how, and what made that, which 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 made that, in order to make this happen, so this could happen. To the, it goes on and on. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. Like We are on a big rock that is rotating in the middle of a infinite universe. There's a star. It's a sun that's burning right now. You know, there's the moon that's out right now. There's all these things, and the uniqueness of creation. Looking at just certain insects and animals, the things that they can do is phenomenal. And it's like I I believe that evolution is real, that people do evolve and things evolve. But I firmly believe that there is a creator to this, and that evolving is a process and is a part of I don't think that somebody pointed their finger and poof bang, there's planet Earth. There was a process for this to come about. But how did that process come about? It's my So that's why, like, me personally, I don't even sit there and try to comprehend or really have an answer for God, because I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna have an answer for it. But I just know that there's something that is greater. That there's no, I don't believe in coincidence. There's no way that this is all just mere chance. That you look at all the people in the world and how they look. Yes, it was people evolve living in different geographical locations, but the uniqueness of the people, of how they look. How you just look at China. Not all people in China look the same. Some are darker, some are lighter, some are taller, some are shorter. Some eyes may be more slanted. The hair texture may be more different. It's just like, or how mountains look in certain parts of the world, or how dirt looks, or mud. There's red mud, there's white mud, there's black mud. There's it's just it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I just can't be sold on it's just by chance. It's just by coincidence. It's just by luck. I can't see that. Mankind is so amazing. People have built freaking pyramids. That's just utterly amazing. The Great Wall of China, the things that man has created is just amazing within itself. And the fact that we 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 didn't create koala bears. We didn't create lemurs. We didn't create grasshoppers. We didn't create bamboo trees, or oceans, or lakes, or ponds, or swamps, and alligators. And the fact that all that's here is just amazing. And it for me, it reeks of that there is something beyond our comprehension that is the custodian of this.
No doubt, no doubt.
I mean, a
Um,
woman, a woman bleeds. A woman bleeds. How does your body know to ovulate? How does your woman's breast produces milk? We produce saliva. The eye, in which how it's created, how it is, and there's a tear duct designed for tears to come out. There's pores in our body designed for sweat to come out of our pore. It's true. It's amazing. Have the ear canals connected to the nasal cavity. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing.
right, right. Well, we gonna go ahead, man, and wrap the show up, man. I enjoyed myself tonight. We done went over 30. We done went over 42 minutes, seeing Sean. That's seeing Sean as my counter. We done went over, man. When you having fun, they said times flies, man. When you having fun, man. I enjoyed. I hope everybody enjoyed the the show tonight. Those that may not have hit the like button, please hit the like button if you like the show. If you hadn't subscribed to the channel, Appreciate that, Satep and Rob. You hadn't hit the, subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel because I check my traffic and have a lot of traffic on my channel, but the traffic is not adding up to the subscribers that I have. So I know there's people coming on the channel and looking at the videos but not subscribing to the channel. So please subscribe to the channel if you have subscribed to the channel. Please support my brother Cuban Crisis. He's on, like he says, he's on. You can find him on Facebook. It's Cuban Crisis. Um, he's also working on his Facebook channel. He's gonna be uh, Facebook channel gonna be up and running pretty soon. iTunes, I am learning. Um, Let me see. I think his perspective is a critique on truth and truth's sake, which I share. We should seek knowledge of ourselves and universe to know divinities and become. That's a fact. That's a fact, brother y'all. Um, don't worry about the subscribe. Oh man, I'm worried about the subscribers. Well, I'm worried about that too. I want to see, I want to know who support me, and because I be going on there and looking and seeing who support me. I'm supporting, so I hope those that support me, out of those I support me also. Before you get the, now I know it, I ain't gonna be able to handle them trolls. You know how sensitive I am, in that, Monica. But before I go, I wanted to show. I'm gonna just like we talk on the traditions and we built on a lot of stuff dealing with the traditions and the branches of the traditions. I said I was gonna show one of the books because he mentioned scratch, and I was going to share the book that one of the priests that actually was a book that was recommended by Benjamin Njai. I'm glad I said his name right because he said I seen something the other day. He was saying that people wish people do because I got it. I was saying Benjamin now, and he says Benjamin Njai. So brother Benjamin Njai, aka Black Panther, he shared a book with me. Shared a book actually, and it wasn't with me, it was with everybody when before people even knew who Benjamin was. His first time uh really doing a presentation in the public was on 404 Black News with a Divine Prospect. That's been a couple of years ago. But anyway, but then he recommended the book again to me. But I got it after I seen. No, I got it. Yes, I did. I got it right after I seen that presentation. I didn't really know who he was, and like I said, he was first coming on the scene. But I'm gonna just share a few books real quick with those that might want to. So I don't want to say anything about subscribing. That's right. Don't say anything about that. I just messing with you. Say that. Hello, I thought I was in the Nile too. Uh, but I'm gonna just share a couple of books, and man, y'all get these books, man. I mean, if you really want to, get a better understanding of some of the traditions, and then later on, you might want to get into the Ile, which is a temple, what I'm saying, or a house that you want to get in. I need some good suggestions on voodoo. I'm gonna give you one good book with voodoo right now that you can get that I just pulled off the shelf. I will go get another one off, but I got a couple of books here, but they all gonna tie into what's the name, but inbox me, Jadar, and I'll give you some more books and some great articles and some PDF books and so forth, man, where you can get your study on. But let me show some of these books before I get up off here, because I said I was gonna, what's the name? Excuse me, I might be looking a little mess, looking a little bit, what's the name? But brother, he mentioned the Ori, and you can go to, and I like plugging my stuff, but you can go to on my channel, and you can look at uh the introduction of Europe, and I'm gonna post it again next week. The introduction of Europe part 2, and it talks about the Ori. Let me see. I'm trying to get it where y'all can be. Okay. Um, it talks about the Ori. He talks about the Ori, which I breaks it down. I talks about the Ori. I talks about how the Ori is connected to your destiny. He kind of talked about it. He did a pretty damn good job. You talking about the Ori, and I connect the Orisha, which means the Orisha just only means select head. I break down the Ori Anu in the Ori Adu, which is the Ori, the outer shell, and the inner shell, which is the essence of the Ori, what we can call the essential cells of that, or that Ashe, which is that energy. But this here is a good book. Turn some lights on, coach. Hold on, let me turn another light on, y'all. Hold on. Man, you had to excuse me with these lights, man. My light bill was $485 last month, bro. I've been snapping on my little son with
What?
these lights and stuff, man. $485. That's the biggest my light
Yo,
bill ever been, man. So I've been, bro. I sit in the dark. If I could read in the dark, I'd be in it. If I still had my little thing,
$485.
$485, man.
And that's because of your son?
No, it's because it's been like super cold. This is the every few years, man, in Mississippi, it gets like cold, 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 cold. But during the summer, during most of the times, we don't get snow. We done had snow twice. We don't get temperature below 10 degrees. But this year it's been like below 10. We done had cold snowing a few times. I said a few times. So it's been kind of rough. So I've been, been just having my heat. I mean, my heat just running consistent, and I'm cold nature. I'm like
Oh, your
cold.
heat bill was $485.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But
Mm.
I got some lights on. But
Oh my god. That sounds
yeah,
like something illegal going on.
yeah, man. Up to you. Most of her with 295. Young with 300. Yeah, they getting over on us. But here is a book here. It is the Ori that he spoke about the Ori, and I say if you want to get more in depth into it, this is a good book and a good start is my presentation, the introduction of Yoruba part two. Part two is goes into the Ori. This here is a good book here. By Chief Fatma. She's a priestess. Uh, and she's from Nigeria. The 16 mythology stories of Ifa. This is I hope y'all can see that. This is lamp glow. Let me turn it off. Now you can't see nothing. Um, let's see. Okay, there it is right there. So that's another great book right there. Another great book right there. And it talks about the 16 core shells. It talks about the divination system, which is rooted in Ifa, Santería, but it's even the Voodoo system that Jadari talk. He's very interested. It's called Fa. You know what I'm saying? But it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? This is a good book to have. Here's another one by Chief Fatma. By the way, Brother Ben recommended this book to me about 2 months ago, and anything that he recommended to me, I buy it immediately. So this is a great book. So time he got it, I got it, and I ran through the book real quick. Um, this is another one I had been had, and I had told him about this book. Here, I think he got that. I think Bro Ben got this book, but it's called The Fundamental Yoruba Religion, Orisha Worship Revised Edition. This is a great, great, great book. This is an excellent book for those that want to understand the traditions. This is a good book right here. I hope y'all can see that. Brother Jadari, here's one. This is a great book. If you want to start out, man, with this is a great book here. It's called The Secrets of Voodoo by Mal uh, Regard. This is a great book right here, man, to start off with, man. To get you on your way, man. It's a great book, man. I used some information out of this book and a few other books when I did my what is the keep the book on one spot. Y'all is going in on me. I'm sorry. But yeah, but this is a great read here. Yeah, I'm book flexing. I'm just trying to, for those that may be interested, bro. And bro, sin, bro, June, if you don't subscribe to my channel tonight, bro, I'm through fooling with you, bro. I looked at my subscriber things, man, and I ain't see your name on there, bro. If you don't subscribe to you my brother, man. If you don't subscribe to my channel, I ain't talking to you no more. I ain't talking to you no more. Here's another book, The Journey of the Songhai People. This is a great read. Dang, where these spots and stuff come from? But this here, There's another great read here. This in here, I was just gonna show this one here. This was what recommended. Oh, you been well. I'm so I apologize. I might have misstrolled over your name, saying I apologize. But here's another book. This is the book I was talking about. He brother Cuban Christ, and he talked about scratching. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, that, no problem, Jadar. Like I said, you can inbox me or whatever, man, or I can give you my number, man. You can call me and we can build. I can share some other stuff with you on that. Oh, and this is the book I was talking about, to scratch. He was talking about scratching. Man, stop looking at those subscribers. and but this is a brother. He's actually a student of Baba Karada, which I share one of the book, which I done shared his book, and I done use his book in a plenty of my presentations. But he's a student of Baba Karada, and he's named after Baba Karada. Baba Akangubi Karada, and he talks about his experience as he's going through his initiatory systems, and till he get to the scratching and how scared he was and certain things that he did. So this is a good book. It's called A Path to the Priesthood: The Making of an African Priest in the American World. So this is a great read. This book was recommended to me by uh Brother Ben. At first, like I said, he recommended to everybody on the thing, and then later on he recommended the book again. So like I say, anything that he recommend, I suggest y'all go and buy it, because everything he has recommended to me, I'm just speaking from my own personal opinion. He recommended quite a few books, and every book that I have got that he recommended, I read, was a great read and gave me better understanding, and it made me a better understanding on some things, and made me expound, and maybe be able to expound a little bit more on some certain things that I may be, what I may didn't understand or kind of confused with at that time. Okay, this is his teacher here. This is Baba Ifa Karada, the handbook of the Yoruba religion concept. And this here is a great book on the traditions that we talked about. This is a good book right here as well. The Handbook of the Yoruba Religion Concept by Baba Ifa Karada. Here's another one. Good book. Breaks down them, the Atlantic slave trade, certain so forth. It talks about the Candomblé. It talks about Lucumí, Santería, uh, and so forth. In this book, this is by a sister, told Morana Carella, which is a priestess as well. Finding the souls and the path of the Orishas, the a West African spiritual tradition. This is a good book to have. You know what I'm saying? Give you some better understanding also on some of the things that we touched on in the discussion tonight. This is a good book here. Uh, I thought I should have. I would get pull out a few more. But this here is another one. It's called the Way of the Orishas, Empowering Your Life, thought through the ancient African religions of Ifa, a preference by Dr. Ofolabi Egbe, by Philip John Nahimi, which is a European, but it was preference, and it was edited by a priest in Nigeria, which this guy went and studied in Nigeria. But it's a good book as well, so don't get thrown off by the author name when you see Philip. Oh, that's the white man. That's the white man site. We know how we get when we see a name. You know what I'm saying? So those, I want to debate you on them books. Bet we can go at it, because I want to debate you on a few books. So if you win, I give you my collection. If I win, I want a few of them books that you got I ain't even got yet. I ain't reading no white man book. Yeah, man. I enjoyed y'all, man. I really did, man. I ain't have nothing going on, man. I appreciate y'all, man, for tuning in to the show tonight. Um, Brother Cuban Christ, you got anything else to say, man, before we get up out of here?
No, thank you for having me on again. I really like your platform, and I hope the people watching enjoyed it, and that's really about it.
Well, all right, man. Well, again, family, I keep up the good work. Appreciate that, seeing June, man. Also before y'all jump up off of here, man, I don't know, man. I'm gonna get in the inbox in a minute, man, to see what's popping, to see what's going on. But I want to do I send June? You stole my but Saber Wuja live got to go. Peace. Oh, he's live. I'm finna get off it too. So I wanna before y'all go, I'm gonna try to come back on tomorrow and hopefully I have the session on the show because I they delaying. I need to see what's going on. If they don't do it, I'll come back on tomorrow or either Monday and do maybe do two glyphs, a translation and transliteration of two glyphs, something short. You know what I'm saying? Go through the steps, like we do on the Seshu channel. But I just wanted to bring because this channel was about language and writing also because that's African culture and tradition as well. So I wanted to bring my family, my foundation on. So maybe tomorrow I'll be able to get them on. If not, then be looking forward to the Bajagoon Saber Live. You tripping, Kofi? And I'm gonna do my Bajagoon presentation either tomorrow or either Monday, just depending on the group. But I want to say Shimim Hotep, Moriwi, which means appreciate or appreciation. So I appreciate y'all, family. Uh, and I'm out.